Hello.
Hello. Now we're on. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tableau Tips for Beginners. My name is Ariel Ross, and I'm a technical writer for Tableau.
I'm Nancy Matthew. I'm also a technical writer for Tableau. In our daily work, Ariel and I create content to help people learn how to use Tableau. But today, we are going to be your guides on a tour of Las Vegas data.
So how many of you have been to Vegas before? Show of hands. Whoa, a lot of you. Any first-timers? A couple? All right, all right. Well, welcome, welcome. Vegas is an amazing place. You know, I've been coming here since the early 70s, starting back when I was a kid. And I still remember that very first trip. I came on a bus from LA with my grandma and my great aunt Chuchi. Oh, there's the ladies. They were a wild bunch, let me tell you. So I remember that trip, and we were rolling down the road, and everything's kind of looking bleak. I don't know if I'm ever going to get there, and that's when I'd see it. Rising in the distance like a mirage, Vegas. You know, it was a magical place, a place where of endless possibilities.
So I've been to Las Vegas twice, and the first time was for Tableau Conference 2015, and the second time is for Tableau Conference 2017. So, right now. So anyway, I don't have a long personal history with Las Vegas, but I still find it to be a really fascinating city, and I'm very eager to dive in and start exploring Las Vegas data with you using Tableau.
So as Nancy and I were thinking about the session, you know, we started talking and saying, what is it about Vegas that draws everyone here? You know, I've been here a lot over the years, and, oh, that's us doing some field work. And, you know, I thought, where do these people come from? Because I've been here a lot, it's always crowded, and I want to know who's coming, where do they come from, and what are they doing here? And so I wonder, is it the gambling? Maybe. Is it the great entertainers? There's been a lot over the years. Maybe it's the buffet. Or maybe they're looking for Elvis. So as we went through trying to find data to answer some of these questions, we were able to find some great data about travel and tourism, a buffet data even, and we found also some gaming revenue and entertainer data. So we're going to be using that to try to answer some of the questions we have.
So how many of you are already using Tableau to analyze your data? Great. So you may have noticed that Tableau gives you a lot of freedom in how you build your visas and views, which is a good thing. But for people new to Tableau, sometimes that freedom can result in visitors block or the blank canvas blues. So our goal today is we want to give you tips and concepts that help you move away from visitors block and more towards having aha moments in Tableau.
So what are we going to be doing?
Well, let me tell you. We are going to be building views from scratch, and we are going to be creating some common chart types. But our goal isn't so much to give you recipes for creating charts. Our main goal today is to show you how to get into the flow of visual analysis and how to feel comfortable with free-form exploration of your data in Tableau.
So buckle up, keep your arms and legs inside the room at all times, and come along with us on a journey of exploration using Tableau and our Vegas data. You know, you don't always have to know where you're going with Tableau. It really only starts with a single question, and you can let your data lead you to where you're supposed to be. It's about the exploration and the journey, not about the destination.
Okay.
So back to Nancy now to go over a little bit light housekeeping, and then we'll get started.
Yeah.
And maybe? Okay. We have a problem. Damn it.
So if we can't use our slideshow, what should we do?
We'll just ad lib and tell you about all the amazing things we're going to do for housekeeping. Here I have it listed. You can read it. Okay, try this.
Hold on.
Sorry, you guys.
What do I do? Close the window?
No. It wasn't me. I didn't touch it. I swear.
Okay, slide doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. You can,
All right.
You can read it from here.
Okay, before I get started, I do want to let you know that everything we're going to show you today, it will be available from the TC17 TC Live site. And I think you get an email with a link to that showing you what to do. We have session materials that will accompany this with the data that we're using and a link to a workbook on Tableau Public. So that will be after, 48 hours after, I think. And then we are hoping to have time to take questions after this talk. But you can also email us your questions through the TC17 conference app. So We're going to be looking at Las Vegas data kind of similar to how we might explore the city. We're going to look at some visitor data first, like we're flying in from far away. Then we might go to a casino and do some gambling. And then we might want to get some food. And then finally, we'll end with a show. So that's how we're going to explore it. Fact that I read in Las Vegas Sun in an article, 43 million people visited Las Vegas last year. It's a lot of people. And when I heard that, it made me wonder how many of those people are coming from outside the United States. So that's the data we're going to look at first, is international visitor data. So when you get started in Tableau, you first have to connect to data. So let's start with the Tableau start page.
A very good place to start.
Very good place to start. Okay, so we connected to Excel files. So I would just go on the start page to Microsoft Excel. There are the files we're connecting to. I've already actually created my connections. I'm just showing you a general workflow for this. So I'm going to cancel out and show you what those connections look like. I'll click this. So this is the Tableau workspace. And my connections are here in the data pane. These are what we're connected to. When you want to start looking at some data, all you do is click the connection to start working with it. Now I'll show you what that data looks like in the data source page. So this is a very simple data set. It's just showing year, number of visitors, and origin market. I actually originally got this from a PDF file using the PDF connector and did a bunch of cleanup. Then I saved it in an Excel file, and that's what we're connected to, so it's all cleaned up. So what you're looking at here is basically a snapshot of the original data. It's not the original data itself. That means I can do all sorts of different things with this data, this metadata. I can manipulate it in different ways to fit my analysis. Like I could change the data type, I could rename it, many different things.
Just remember, just like Vegas, what happens in Tableau stays in Tableau. We'll never corrupt your other
right.
data source.
So your data's safe.
We'll corrupt you, though, if you don't mind.
Hopefully not.
No.
Okay, so now let's look and see what this data looks like in Tableau, in the workspace. So we're back to our workspace. Those columns came in as fields under dimensions and measures. What are dimensions and measures? Dimensions are fields that contain qualitative values that you can categorize, segment, and use to reveal the data, details in your data. Measures are fields that contain quantitative values that you can measure. You can perform calculations on them, like adding, dividing, averaging, things like that. So we think of measures as, Ariel and I, as building blocks for building your view. You're going to drag them into the view on columns, this area, columns, shelves, and row shelves, and you're going to drag them to the marks card. And that's going to build the structure of your view and start providing visual meaning and detail in your data. So I'll start doing that. The first tip is I've got this blank page. I'm not sure what to do first. If you're really not sure, just double-click a field, and Tableau will choose for you. So it chose rows. Now I'm going to drag origin market to columns. And so my ABCs are a little placeholder for the text that I'm going to be showing for number of visitors. So now I'll drag number of visitors to text on the marks card. Okay, so now I have a basic text table with a lot of information.
Looks a lot like Excel.
It does, and a text table is a valid chart type. But now I'm going to show you how you can use the marks card to start adding meaning and context and detail to the view. So, but first, I actually don't like the orientation of this view. So here's a little tip. If you don't like where the rows and columns are showing up, just click swap. Here's a little swap button. Okay, so now I have all my information in the view. It's still hard to scan. It's just a bunch of numbers. So I'm going to show you how you're going to use the marks card to give more context to this view. The marks card is a key element of analysis in Tableau.
You can think of it like a secret sauce.
It is the secret sauce in the sense that it's going to make your data come alive with color, size, text, and shape. So let's see an example of that. I'm going to drag visitors to color. Okay, well, that's okay. I didn't really expect it to put it on text. I think I should change the mark type. So I'm going to go here to the marks card and change it to square. Okay, so now we're already seeing a trend or information in our data with color. Dark blue means more visitors. So I could just scan this and figure out where the most visitors are coming from, or I could sort it. I could sort up here, or I could just pick, I think I'd like to sort based on 2016, so I'll do that. And here we have our answer. We have most international visitors coming from Canada, then Mexico, then the UK.
Did anybody guess Canada? Think that was the most, woo, I wish I had a prize for you, but I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've answered a question with this view. Now I have another question. I'm curious to know whether the number of visitors is increasing or decreasing for these different regions over time. And to do that, here's your next tip. First, when you finish it with a view, name it so you can keep track of it, because sometimes you'll make a lot of views, and if they just say sheet, you can't tell what they're telling you. So I'm going to name it international visitors. The next part of the tip is if you want to use the current view as a jumping off point for further analysis, you can just duplicate it. I'll do that. It'll start with the same structure and data, of course. I'll click duplicate. And now I have my new view that I'm going to work from. Okay, so I want to apply some kind of formula to this view, I don't know, for percent difference or something.
How are you going to do that?
Well, it just so happens, Ariel, that we have something called quick table calculations that do that thing, and they have a bunch of different common calculations you can use. So to do that, I need to use my measure, and I want to see that information in color. So I'm going to click my measure in color, quick table calculation, percent difference, and now we have some new data, or new information. So something's going on between 2008 and 2009. I might want to explore what that is. But the next part of your tip about using a quick table calc is you should check to see how it's being calculated so it's doing what you want. So I'm going to go back to this field to edit table calc. And right now it's computing across the table. I want to compute based on the year 2007. So I'm going to set it to that. And now the view's changed again and giving us new information. So there's an outlier here. It's Brazil. And the table calc I use is telling me it's increased over 800% in visitors since 2007, which is really interesting. I might want to get more data to analyze that and figure out why that's happening. But before I do that, I want to tell you another tip. Right now, Brazil is such an outlier that it's kind of washing out the other data in the view. So when you have a lot of marks in the view or an outlier like this, you can exclude it to see what's going on with the rest of the data, which I'm going to show you. I'll just select Brazil, click exclude. And now I can see trends and other outliers in this view. But now I've decided I don't want to go down that path, and so I'm going to undo that to go back to this view. And so this is another small tip. Basically, if you start going down a path of analysis and you decide, oh, I wish I was back like 3 steps ago at that other view, you can just click undo. It applies to the entire working session. Okay, so now we have that information about our visitors.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that we had so many people coming from Canada, the UK, and Mexico. Now I know who's been hanging out in Vegas with us.
But I think that's enough about international visitors, so let's head to the casino.
All right.
For some gaming data. So I've set this sheet up. I'm going to go to my gaming connection. Quick fact, casinos in Las Vegas made an average of just over $600,000 a day from gaming. That's a lot of money. That's every casino. So this data set is all about how much casinos win on bets, slots, and table games. And the important fields in this are percent win, win amount, and then number of units. And here's a little tip. I wanted to let people know what those fields, what that meant. And so I added this text in the title, just there, so that anyone who looks at this viz will know what those mean. So you can try to do that too in your thing. So now I'm going to start building up the structure. So I'm going to put date on columns. So I'm building my structure with rows and columns. And I'll put type on rows. And I'm interested in the win percentage. So I'm going to put that here. Now I'm seeing a bar chart. I'm going to make it a little bigger. There. Okay, and now I need to use my marks card to reveal more context in the data. So I'm going to drag %win to color. Okay, now we're seeing something. The red means it's really negative, and actually this number is crazy, like negative over almost 3,000% for bets.
You know, Nancy, I think the house has taken a bath on those bets.
Yeah, I don't believe that based on how much money they've made. Yeah. So we're going to check and see what's going on with this number. If we go here, we see sum is being used with the win %. So it's being aggregated using sum. So here's a concept and a tip. Every time you drag a measure in the view, Tableau by default is going to aggregate it. And it's going to use either sum or average or something else that it thinks makes sense for the view. So the tip is you need to check the aggregation, and if it isn't what you want, you need to change it. So you can either change it here on the field, like that, or you could go back to the data pane and set its default properties so that you can use that same field set to the right thing in the entire workbook. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So I'll go to win %, default properties, aggregation, average. Okay, well, it's not in the view yet. I have to drag it in. So I'm going to drag it over my existing fields. Oops. Right there. And then if you accidentally don't drag it on, you just take the other one off. So now the number's updated, and it looks right. So that's interesting. But I want to know something else. I think I need to go to a deeper level of detail to know why bets seem to be negative. I need to go to the game level. So to do that, one quick tip on how to do this, I created a little hierarchy because I knew game is a subset of type, so I created this hierarchy. And all I have to do is click this little plus. And now I've gone to the next level of detail, which is at the game level, and we're starting to see more specifically which types of bets are leading to this negative percentage number for the house. So that's interesting. And if I want to go back, I can just click it again. Well, now I'm looking at this, and I kind of would like to see win amount per unit, but I don't have a field for that.
Yeah, you don't have a field there.
So what do I do? What are you going to do? Well, it turns out you can use something called the calculated field, which is basically a custom field that you put operators or functions in, and it becomes part of your view, and when you drag it out, you get the result. So I'm going to do that for win amount, and all you have to do is go to your field, create calculated field. I'm going to name it win amount per unit. And all it is, this is about as simple as you could get for a calculation. There's way more complicated ones than this. Win amount divided by number of units. Let's click OK. All right, I'm not going to use it quite yet. So the next thing I want to do with my view is I'd kind of like to see my win %, win amount, and win amount per unit all in one view. There's some different ways I could do that, but today I'm going to show you a new feature that is in beta in Tableau 10.5. It's called Viz and Tooltip, and it's going to be a really awesome thing to use, so I want to show you how you can use it. So the way Viz and Tooltip works is I need to set up some sheets that have vizzes that I want to show in other tooltips so that I can reference them. So I pre-made some of these, and I'll just explain. This one has win %. This one has win amount. And then this has my new calculated field, win amount per unit. And we're already seeing some kind of interesting data there, but that's just all the games thrown in together. So now I'm going to go back to my original view, and hold on. I just click Tooltip, and then I'm going to insert a reference to one of those views. So under Sheets, I'm going to pick win %. And then I'm just going to change the height. Okay. Now, when I drag over a mark, it's going to filter, based on that mark, it's going to filter my Viz and Tooltip information. I'll show you. It's
Two
amazing.
Viz's in one.
Two Viz's in one.
Woo!
Yay.
2 Viz's in one. Okay, we're excited.
So,
really.
so this is showing me the bet information for this specific mark for 2014. So that's really cool. But now let's take it up a notch. I could show 3 Viz's in one tooltip.
Okay, you're getting
and then we
crazy
can do
here.
more analysis. And I'll show you I preset that up. But basically, I just stuck 2 more references in to my tooltip. And now I have all in one view. I have my higher level of detail, and then I have my next level of detail, and I'm seeing it's baseball and football for bets that might be good for me to play. And then we've got, for table games, it looks like the house makes a lot of money in Baccarat and 21. And then for slots, those are kind of all over the place. I can't tell which slots I should play. I think they just make a lot of money on all of them. But anyway, so.
Wow, so using this data, I think we can hit the sports book up later. What do you think?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe some slots? All right,
Okay.
I'm with you.
All right, so that's our gaming data. I'm getting really hungry now, so Ariel, please take us to a buffet.
All right.
With your data.
So
Okay.
let's go ahead and look at the buffet data that we have. I like a good buffet. Like, who doesn't, right? And you know, Vegas is actually really famous for their buffets. Back in the day, you could get all-you-could-eat prime rib and crab legs for $5. I kid you not. I think those days are long gone, though. I don't think there's a $5 buffet here, and if it is, I don't know if I want to find it. But it would be very interesting to see what Vegas has to offer today in the buffet realm. So interesting questions might be, where are these buffets? How much do they cost? Is there one that's better than another? And is there some kind of correlation between, you know, how can I get the best value for my money? And also, I might want to know how close they are to where I am right now, because if I'm hungry after a long day of conferencing, I want to get to that buffet fast. So that's the kind of data we're going to try to find. And I went ahead and gathered a bunch of data from Foursquare.com, and it had some really good buffet data for Vegas. It included things like location and rating and prices, different prices and things like that. So that's what we're going to use to explore our buffet data and see if we can answer some of these questions. So we'll start by looking at price, because the first question is, what is the best buffet for the money I have to spend? So that's our question. All right. So we already know that the conference covers lunch for us, which is great. So we'll focus on dinner. So we have some dinner prices here. So we'll start by dragging weekday dinner up to columns. And we'll have, let's do weekend dinner too, because you never know how long you're going to be in Vegas, onto rows.
Oh, snake eye.
Oh, man. So how many people have seen this when you try to build a scatter plot? Anybody? See, now you see it. From now on, you're going to go snake eyes. Well, what this is the one-pointed scatter plot. And what's happening here is that Tableau is aggregating for us. But how do I know? How do I know this is an aggregation? Well, first, before I get into that, I just want to do one quick thing. So when I brought my buffet data in, Tableau assigned my cost, my prices, to integers, which is okay, but I know I'm looking at dollars, and I want to fix that because it's going to make my data a little bit easier to understand. So that's our first tip. Earlier you saw how Nancy changed the aggregation, the default aggregation for one of her marks. Well, for my values, I actually want to change the default aggregation for number format. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to do the default properties. Here, we're going to select the mark, and then select number format, and then we're just going to select currency here. And it's US currency, because I know that's what I'm using. And we'll do the same for weekend. All right, so default properties, number format, and currency. All right, great. So now I start to see some really good information, and when I hover over my mark, I'm like, whoa, if it costs $900 to eat at a buffet in Vegas, maybe you can find that somewhere, but I have a sense that that probably is not correct. So that's your first clue that aggregation is happening. The second clue that aggregation is happening is I see that up here in my columns and rows, the Tableau is assigned a sum, which tells me it's adding up all of the data for my buffet. So if I ate at every buffet, it would cost $900. So, I mean, you could go really hungry, like if you were a professional eater, maybe, you know, that's what it would cost you. Okay, so how do I fix this? Because this is really not the information that I want to get at. What I want to get at is how much do these buffets cost, and I know I have a lot of them in there. So I can start dragging detail, meaning additional fields, into my view. And that's what tells Tableau that says, hey, I've given you all the cost, but I'm saying I want to break that down. So this is called increasing the level of detail into your view. And we can do it in 3 places. You can drag fields over here, dimensions or measures, and you can drag them to the columns, you can drag them to the rows, or you can drag them to the marks card. Each of these places will change the level of detail in your view. And it may give you different results depending on where you drag it, so just be aware of that. Now I'm going to use the marks card for this example here so we can see what happens. So I know that I have a lot of buffets in a lot of places, so we'll start with location, and we'll drag it to detail. And it might be good to have buffet name in there too, so we'll drag that over too. So now you can see that Tableau instantly changed my level of detail, and now it shows me a distribution of my buffets based on how much they cost, and immediately I can see I have an outlier. I have a little clump of buffets here that cost relatively the same, and then I have some cheaper buffets over here. So I've got some good information.
Can we see rating?
Oh, rating. You know what? But we also want to know what was the best value for our money. So that means rating, right? We want to, if we're going to spend the money, I don't want something that's like a 2, right? So we happen to have a rating column, and we're going to use the marks card again. And this time, we're going to drag it to color. So here's your next tip. You can use color to encode your marks to make them stand out better and see interesting information and insights start to pop. So Tableau did that for me. I dragged it to color, and it gave me a default color palette in this blue diverging range, which is great. And I can definitely see that there's something happening here, right? So I can see that there's a rating impact, and not all buffets are created equal. That's good information. But here's your next tip. You're not stuck with this color palette. It's okay, but I think we can make it better. So you have choices. You can change the color palette to something that's going to work better for these marks and make them jump out a bit more. There's 2 places you can do that. You can go to the color button here on the marks card, or you can actually select from the legend, and you can edit color from here too. I'll use the marks card though this time just to show you what that looks like. So let's go to edit colors. And you know what? I don't like this blue. I'm going to drop this down, and I think maybe an orange-blue diverging might work better. But I also want to see that my higher rated buffets stand out a bit more, so I'm going to actually reverse this and make those buffets dark orange. So now that's the color they'll appear. Now, the blue color is okay for my lower level, but actually, how would you like me to show you how to create a custom color palette in 1 click?
I would love that.
All right, let's do it. So while the blue is great, I don't really care for it, so I'm just going to click on it, and now I can go ahead and change my lower level. Let's maybe do it in a dark gray. And here's a mini tip. If you had RGB values or hex values, you could actually pop those in right here and create your custom color palette just like that. But we're going to use our little palette over here. And let's click OK, and OK again. And now this data really stands out a lot more. So now instantly I can see where my higher rated buffets are in the price scale. And yeah, there's a few that cost a bit more, but they're all over scattered. Now the next tip is that all the way in the back room, maybe this view with these marks is a little hard to see because hollow circles is the default mark type. So the next tip is you are not stuck with this mark type either. You can actually change it to something else that works a little bit better for your data. It's all about communicating and understanding your data, right? So that's easy to do. Over here on the marks card, you can just drop this down, and let's select circle and see if that changes it. Now that's a bit better. So we've gone through a lot of things just with this little bit of data that we have, but in a few simple clicks, we answered part of our question. How much do our buffets cost? Are there ones that are better than the other, and can we find a good value? Well, that's good information. We see it right here. But you know what? If I were to pass this off to maybe one of you guys and you forgot what we talked about, you're like, I don't know what these dots represent. Well, this is your next tip. Adding contextual details like labels or maybe an interactivity like a filter is a really good way to help other people understand your data too. So let me show you a couple things you can do. So the first tip is on location. I think I'd love to have these locations called out with label. So I can actually use marks that are already in my view, and I can copy them and make them do more than one thing. So they're going to do double duty. So location's already here. I'm going to control, select it, drag it up to label, let it go, and now I have my location giving me labels, and it's in my tooltip too. So I've got double duty with a simple click. Quick and easy. All right, so now the next thing I wanted is right away I see Caesar's Palace is the most expensive bite on the planet here, well, at least in Vegas. So I would like to be able to interact with this view a little bit, and a really quick way and easy to do that is to add a filter. So I'd like to search by price. So let's go ahead and select price over here, right-click, and show filter, and bam, I have a filter now that I can interact with my view. And it was just a few simple clicks to get this information. So right now we can see that we've got some definite outliers in our data. So if I was just looking at a spreadsheet, I don't know that this information would pop for me the way that it does in this viz. I'm like, okay, Caesar's Palace is awesome, and it's got an 8.7 rating, pretty good. But I noticed the Cosmopolitan is a little bit cheaper, and it's got the highest rating in the whole data set. That's interesting data, and not something that I would have seen otherwise. But what if I don't want to spend that much, right? What if I would just want to go, well, I just want the cheap buffets. Is there anything good for the few dollars I have in my pocket? Well, let's use our filter and see if we can find out. So we'll clear the filter, and we'll select just the lower end. And now we see that, well, you do kind of get what you pay for. Okay, it's all right. But we do have an outlier over here, the Aliante. For only $12, I get an 8-point unrated buffet. That's a good value and what I might want to check out later.
We need to find out where that is, Ariel.
Yeah, I think we do. So that's a spatial question. All right, so to find out where our buffets are, we're not going to find out with this lovely scatter plot, but we do love it. So we're going to keep it and we're going to try something else. So now to find out where our buffets are, we're talking about maps. And Tableau gives you a lot of great tools to use when you're using maps. I'm actually going to give you a special treat where I'm going to use a custom map because I wanted a lot of contextual detail in my view because I'm using data that's very close together. And the default map was great, but I wanted something that gave me a bit more Vegas-related information. So let's create a map, and I'll show you how very easy it is. With just a simple clicks, I can create a map just like that. So we have latitude and longitude in our data set, and that's a key. You definitely need that information. Tableau will auto-generate it for you if it has what it needs, but if it doesn't, there are tools that you can use to get that information pretty quick, and we've included information about that in our slide deck. So we have it, so let's double-click on latitude and double-click on longitude, and we have our map. Now, I had this map already set up, and this is my map from Mapbox. And I just want to point out that I did a little setup ahead of time to bring this map in, but it really only took me about less than 10 minutes to do it. I've included the how-tos in the deck just to save time today. I didn't want to walk you guys through the setup. But where it sits is in my map, background maps. So Tableau is the default map, and it looks like this, which is great. It's okay. But like I said, I wanted something a bit more detail-y, so we went with that, and we'll go ahead back to our Vegas Street map. All right, so now Tableau has given us this beautiful map. It's shown us where Las Vegas is, and that's Nevada, but we have our snake eyes back.
It's another snake eye.
It's the other snake eye.
Yep.
Well, so what's happening here is that we're aggregating again. And just as a little tip about maps, maps are essentially at their base level scatter plots with a different background. So if you think of them that way and think about what we had to do with our scatter plot, it really is the same here. It's just that you can do a little bit more because you're working with spatial data, and you might find some other hidden insights that you didn't find on your scatter plot. So let's see if we can find that. So the next tip is, this 1 point is great. We're aggregating our longitude and latitude, but I need detail. I need to see where these buffets are. This is not going to help. So can you guess what we need to do? We need to drag in some details, right? More fields. So let's do that. We'll do similar actions like what we did with our scatter plot, so you guys can see how it works. So we'll start with location. And we'll drag it into detail here. And we'll do buffet name because I like that information too. And you know what? How about dinner prices? Let's go ahead and drag it in too. All right, so instantly you saw that Tableau went ahead and zoomed in to Las Vegas, and we're starting to see where all of these buffets are located. And they are not all in the same location. As a matter of fact, we kind of have a clump of them sitting in one spot. I wonder where that spot is. Could be at the Strip, could be near, we don't know. So we do like rating data, and that was good information. So let's go ahead and drag that in too and see if that can give us a bit more information about what we're looking at. So let's drag rating to color just like we did before. And we get our diverging color palette, the default one. We didn't like that. We'll go back to our other color palette. This time I'll open it from the legend so you can see. So we're going to go ahead and edit the color. We'll go back to our orange-blue diverging. We'll make it spicy by reversing our color. We'll use our custom palette that we liked. We liked that gray, and okay, and great. So this is interesting information that we didn't get from our scatter plot before. We now see that the higher rate of buffets are clustered all in the same area. So my question to you is, do you think that location has anything to do with price or rating? It might. But it's a bunch of dots. Mm-hmm. Not very interesting.
Can you somehow make it stand out better?
I bet we could. So here's another tip for you. When you're working with maps, or even when you're working with other chart types, sometimes using shape is a really interesting way to separate out your data and call attention to certain aspects of it. So let's do that, and let's see how it looks. So the first thing I need to do is I need to change my mark type. So just like I did before, when I changed it from a hollow circle to just a regular filled circle, you just change your mark type up here to shape. So we're back to our default mark type. But I want to differentiate by price because I think that's going to be a really good way to figure out where we want to go. So now let's drag price onto shape. All right, so Tableau says, great, you want to differentiate your buffets by price. I'm going to give each category a different shape. I'm going to give the cheap buffets a circle and the medium price buffets a square, and then maybe a little plus sign for those really high-end buffets. Well, that's great, but it's not very compelling, right? I don't like this. So I think that we should change it. And so just like colors, you can customize your shapes too. So let's see what we have. So you can open up your shape palette. So I don't know if you knew that you have a shape palette along with a color palette. We can do it from the legend just like we did with color. So let's go ahead and edit shape and see what we've got. So I drop this down, and I'm in my edit shape. I'm like, oh, there's some stuff for restaurants. Let's take a look at that one. Oh, I like these. I think we should use these. All right, so to change it, I want my cheap buffets to be represented by a beer. And my medium price buffets, we can class it up a bit. How about a glass of wine for that one? And then for the high-end buffets, we just got to go full martini. That's just the way it's got to be.
I don't have those shapes.
You're right. You don't. You know what? I have to confess, I love these shapes so much, I created them myself. But here's the good news. You guys can do it too. So it's very easy to create custom shapes and use them, and they're a lot of fun, and they make your visit really interesting. All you need to do is you need to find the icons you want to use. Like I used flat icon to find these. Save them into a folder. Drop them into your Shapes folder in your My Tableau repository, and they will show up in your palette, and you can use them as much as you want. Use whatever you want. You can go crazy. And it's really tempting to go crazy, so when you start cluttering your viz up with a lot of shapes because they're really fun, you might want to take a little step back and say, well, other people have to understand this. So that's as easy as it is. Okay, well, I've got my shapes, but I don't know about you guys, I can't see this at all. They're in there, but they're hard to see. So here's your next tip. You can actually change the size of your marks with the size option on the marks card. It's a simple drag over to get them a little bit bigger. All right, now we can start to see some interesting information. So
that's cool, but I'm just curious, where's a Mandalay Bay?
Yeah, there's a lot of information in here, and I think if I put labels, it might be too busy. So there's a couple things I can do to find a certain location or a certain mark in my viz that I want to find. So I could roll over these, and here's my tooltips. It's got all that great information that I dragged to detail. But you know what? There's a shorter way to do that. It's called the data highlighter. And if you've never used the data highlighter, let me turn it on. You can turn it on from these fields right here. And in this case, I want to use location to find it. You just right-click, show highlighter, and it's going to go bad. Okay, that's okay. I'm glad that happened. So all we need to do, Tableau is getting a little grumpy with us right now. I just need to close it and reopen it. Okay. So let's go ahead and close it. And which workbook was it? Which one was it? This one?
Here, I'll do it.
Okay. All right, so I just want to give you a data highlighter as a way to easily find marks in a very, very dense viz. And you can do it by, and I'll show you in a second when we bring it back up, is you can do it by running your cursor down all of the marks and it'll start popping them out, or you can actually type in something that you're looking for and it'll pop it out for you and highlight it, which is really awesome. Yep. All right, Nancy's got the touch.
Okay.
All right, so that was just a really quick troubleshooting tip in case you wanted those. You got a bonus today. All right, so let me show you how this works. All right, so here's all of the marks, and as you can see, as I start running my cursor around, they pop, right? So this is awesome. But I do know what I'm looking for, so I can just start typing it in, and it'll go ahead and sort right down to the ones that match. And that's a partial sort. Pretty awesome. So we want Mandalay Bay, and we see that it's right here. Okay, fantastic. I know where it is, but I get a little distracted when I look at these maps because there's so many cool things to look at, and I don't want to lose where this is. So there's something I can do to help me remember where this Mandalay Bay is. It's called annotations. Has anyone ever used annotations in their vizzes? Well, all right, a few of you. Annotations are awesome because they're a really great way that you can call out a mark in your view, maybe a particular point on your axes that you want to call attention to, or even a cluster of values that are very important. And so when you're sharing out your vizzes and you want to call attention to things, annotations is a quick and easy way to do that. So let me show you how you can do it. So we're going to go ahead and just right-click in the view. I'm going to select Annotate, and I'm going to annotate the mark. And this is a free-form text box. You can go ahead and enter in whatever information you want. I don't want all this default information. I'm just going to delete it. And I'm going to type, "You are here." And you can format this. So we'll just make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it red so it stands out because we've got to paint the town red in Vegas. And then it gives you this little box. And you can even format this one. And I'm just going to do that really quick by selecting Format on the right-click. Let's see, I don't want any border on it. And I don't want any shading either. And let's see, I want my line a little bigger. And I want it to be red to match my text. And we can even add an arrow. And there we go. Now we know exactly where the Mandalay Bay is, and we will never lose it. So as you explore your map, you'll always be able to find home base.
So where was that one place we wanted to go to? What was it called?
Started with
Starts with an A.
A. That's right. That's right. The good buy, right? It was a cheap buffet that was high rated. Let's see. Oh, I think it was the Aliante.
That was it.
Oh.
That's really far.
Okay. Well, I think that we have answered our question that price and location have something to do with each other. So I guess if you want to take the cab ride, it might be worth it, but I think I want to stay on the strip, you know. All right. So now we have some really good vises that we want to use, but boy, I wish there was a way we could use both of them at the same time because there's good information on both.
Is there a way?
I think there is, and it's called a dashboard. So let me show you how to build a dashboard. Now, you can use this little button right here to create a new one, but we've already created a little tab for it here. And I'll close my format button. So with dashboards, they look a lot like when you build a new viz, except the difference is you're dragging in completed vizzes instead of fields. So we like our map, so let's go ahead and drag that over. All right, great, I love it. And now I also want my scatter plot. But when I was working with this dashboard, I found that the scatter plot that I built didn't really work well with my dashboard. I actually needed to change it a little bit to change the organization of it. So all I did was copy the scatter plot that I made, I duplicated it. I brought price up to rows so that I could chunk out my data by price. And that was going to work a little bit better with what I wanted to do. So even though I'm already here, I could easily go back and do that. But I've pre-built it to save us some time. I think I did. Where did it go?
What's it?
There it is.
There it is.
Okay. All right. So we're just going to drag it over here. And now you can see what that looks like. Great. So another tip about when we were working with dashboards, when you bring your vizzes in, anything you have turned on for those vizzes, like if you have legends or you have filters or anything like that, they're going to come into, and your dashboard can start to look really busy. So one of the best things about dashboards is you can format it any way you want. And anything you do on the dashboard isn't going to go back and change your viz. Okay? So I'm going to show you a few tips that you can use to format and start making this dashboard look really sweet. So the first thing I want to do is I don't need these titles. So we're just going to highlight them, highlight the viz itself, right-click, and hide title. And let's do the other one. All right, and you can see that Tableau automatically adjusts that size so it fills in all the space. Now the other thing I have is I have this zone of information over here, and this is called a zone right here. And that's where Tableau automatically stores by default any rating, like our rating scale is here, our legend is here, all kinds of things. And I don't need all of these things. So I don't want this legend because I already have that information in my map, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So let's go ahead and get rid of that one. And all you have to do is select it and delete it. Now I didn't delete it off the visualization it belonged to, it's still there. But for my dashboard, I don't want it there. The other thing is I do like this rating scale, and I do like my data highlighter a lot. So I want to keep those, but I don't like where they're at. So you can move them off the zone by undocking them. And to undock them, all you need to do is select, right-click, and choose floating. And now I can move this anywhere I want. So we'll put it down here in the corner so he's out of the way. And I'll do the same thing with highlight location because I want to keep that one too. So we'll change it to floating, and let's move it. And now my map looks a little squished, so we can select that, and we can actually just drag it over. All right. So now I've got some interesting information, a really usable dashboard I could share with other people, but boy, I sure wish there was a way I could zero in on some of this information on the map.
I wish it had a filter in it.
Yeah, I don't have a filter, do I? But you know what? There's something I can do. You can actually use one viz to filter the other one, and it's really easy to do. I'm going to use my scatter plot viz to be the filter, so I'm just going to select it and select Use as Filter. Now, if I really want to know where all the cheap beats were in Vegas, I can just select this, and I'm automatically filtered down to see only that information.
Very cool.
It's very cool. All right, so now we've got dinner planned, right? We all know where we're going tonight, yeah? Yeah? Who's taking the cab ride to Aliante? I know, it's a long way to go. It might not be worth it. But I do want to know what show are we going to see. I think Nancy has some great data.
I do. I have some great show information
right.
for you. So when we wanted to look at the entertainers for Las Vegas, we were most interested in seeing who had been playing Las Vegas for the longest time. And it took a little bit to get that data, but I did find it. And so I'm going to show that to you now. Hold on. So the important fields in, hold on, I'm going to go to my show connection. The important fields in this view are end date and start date. Start date is the first year that an act started playing in Las Vegas. End date is the last year that the show played. If they're still playing, I gave them a date of 2018 to suggest they were still playing. And what was the other thing? Oh, I didn't account for if they took breaks in the middle. We just went with start and end because that was easiest. I also created a really simple calculated field called years running to figure out how long they'd been there. And just to go look at that, it's very simple. It's end date minus start date. Okay, so let's start building the view.
Who do you think the longest running act is here in Vegas? Any ideas?
Okay, don't
Wait.
just
Liberace?
hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Okay. Let's see.
Nice guess.
Let's see.
Okay, hold on. So,
Celine.
did someone say Celine? Yeah.
Okay.
Good guess.
Okay.
So, so here are all the entertainers that are in this data set. Now we want to know.
In there?
Sammy Davis Jr. is tucked inside the Rat Pack.
You know, I got to see him when I was a kid,
I
live.
do know. You told me that. Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's very interesting. So anyway, so here are entertainers, and I think I'm also going to put years running on color. And I know that there's shows like Cirque du Soleil, that they have multiple shows, so I'm going to put show name on detail to break that out. And I think I would also like to see the start date as a label. So I'm going to drag that out. Okay, so now we're seeing that. Now, if we want to know the top ones, we just click sort right here.
Who's going to be?
Okay,
Cirque du
so
Soleil.
this is very interesting. I see some names here I recognize and also some I don't. That's fine. So we do have Wayne Newton in there. We've got Engelbert Humperdinck and Frank and Charo and other interesting people, Blue Man Group. So now, that's great. It is interesting to know who the longest running entertainers are. I want to know which one of these people or acts that I can see right now. So to find that out, I'm just going to create a filter on end date, and I'm going to set it to the year 2018. And we'll have our answer. Ta-da! Okay, so whoever guessed Wayne Newton, you're right. If you want to see the longest, well, Cirque du Soleil is the longest, but that's not really fair because they have multiple shows. So Wayne Newton, longest running act that you can still see.
Wow, I didn't know he was still performing.
And that is why he's called Mr. Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's it for that data.
All right. Okay. So I think we need to switch back to our...
Right, we do. Where did I put my thing? Did you put something on top? Oh, here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
So we had some fantastic slides for you to finish up our program.
Can you bring it up?
We won't be looking at them. We're going to talk through them.
Okay. All
and
right.
you can imagine how wonderful
Imagine,
they were.
if you will, the beautiful visits we built for you today.
All right. So do you have this?
Yeah. All right, so now we've completed our data journey, and we've covered a lot of ground. We were going to show you the visits that we built as a refresher, but I know that in your mind's eye, you will never forget them. So the first thing we did is we wanted to know who was coming to Vegas. And we built a couple of visits to help us figure that out, and it turns out that people from Canada, Mexico, and the UK are loving Vegas, and they're here, and we didn't know that before we built those visits. So then we wanted to know, well, the casinos are hot, which ones are the best ones to do? We built some visits to find out that unless you're the spy who loved me, we don't want to go play Baccarat, because I think only James Bond is good at that.
Yep.
But the sports book and the slots, that's all right, you'll find us there, because I think that one's doing pretty good. Then we got a little hungry, and we wanted to know what's the best buffet in Vegas? And I think we were able to answer that question. Well, it varies for sure, depending on how much money you want to spend, but the Wicked Spoon at the Cosmopolitan is the best buffet out there.
And then for shows, we found out that Mr. Wayne Newton has been serenading and rocking Vegas for almost 60 years.
Oh, I think if you want to see him, you better go now.
You should go now.
You should go.
Yeah. So we did show you a lot of tips and concepts for using Tableau today. We hope that you learned a lot. We wanted to leave you with these main points from the talk when you leave. So measures and dimensions are your building blocks for creating your viz. You're going to use rows and columns to create the structure for your viz. You're going to use the marks card. It's the secret sauce that reveals data and meaning in a visual way in your data. Always start with a question and see where it leads you. See where it takes you. It's a journey. Play with your data. Try different views. Like, look at the data in different ways. You might learn something you didn't expect. Also, your data is always safe. You're not going to hurt the original data.
Right. Remember, just like Vegas, what happens in Tableau stays in Tableau. It's okay.
Unless you want to share it.
Yeah, you can do that.
That's okay. All right. So what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. We wanted to, again, mention that you can see this recorded talk on the TC Live site. I believe you'll get a link at some point to that. And the related session materials can be downloaded. It's got our slide deck. You'll get to see everything.
Yeah,
and plus all the how-tos of how we created our tips. And then it'll have a link to a workbook on Tableau Public that you can use with the data and try it out for yourself, and we encourage you to try it.
There's a lot of good stuff in there that we didn't show you.
Yeah. And then we had a slide that showed all these different resources that you can use from the help and blogs and the Tableau.com site. That'll be in the deck, and you can use those. There's links to all those places where you can find information to help you get better at learning to use Tableau.
One of those that I would point out, if you haven't had a chance to do it, there's a Get Started tutorial for Tableau Desktop out on the help. And it's not a video, it's an actual hands-on walkthrough with a case study that helps you learn a lot of the foundational tips that we covered today. So it's worth the time to take it. Do check it out, and there's a link in the deck when you download it to get to it.
Okay, so as far as going to sessions that might be helpful and a complement to this, I want to recommend Step 0, Prepare Your Data. There's another one called How to Excel.
Yeah, How to Excel with Excel. If you're a heavy Excel user,
How to Excel with Tableau.
Do go to that one. It's excellent, and it will really help you start to map the concepts in Excel to how we do things in Tableau.
That's How to Excel in Tableau. And then the next one was, From to Aha. And that's a talk about how to use data analysis in Tableau. Okay, what else? We also want to call out, I don't know if you've been to Tableau Labs yet. It's in the Data Village. You can talk to designers and developers. There's certain features that they'll show you and then design ideas they have. I believe you need to get scheduled. Some you can walk up to, but come see us there. We have one called Help Us Help the Help, and we need your help.
to make it better.
Please come visit us. What was the other thing? Oh, please fill out the survey and let us know how this talk was for you so we can keep making it better. And then now it looks like we have some time for questions.
Yeah, so we'll stick around if you guys want to ask us questions. Thank you so much for joining us today.